The thing about a rock is that it's not made out of wood, so you can't pound into it. So that means that the stress lines have to be equal in every direction in order for the faces to lay flat. So I actually started, kind of came up with this because I used to do a lot of mold making in ceramics where you have a solid object and you take the faces off of different directions. So I'm looking at the rock that Terry chose. This is such a beautiful rock. Nice choice. And I'm seeing that there's a couple of different faces here. One face is, one piece of this sort of pattern piece is going to kind of go like this and then come over and come to a point here. And then one face will be this half and it will wrap around the bottom here. And then I think that the last face will probably come to a peak here and open up and come here and over to here. So it's going to be 3 pattern pieces. And if you don't mind, I can with a Sharpie, I'll draw the pattern pieces out on the rock. Is that okay? When I do this with a great big huge stone, often I'll use a piece of chalk or something like that, so I can, if I mess up or something, I can go back and kind of erase it. But this is relatively simple. So I'm going to go like this. So there you go. So we've got one of your faces, and I pretty much have drawn the other faces already. This one here, we'll take this line down. And we'll come across the bottom like this. Like that. And then we have this face over here. So I'm going to call this face A, and this face B, and this is going to actually wrap around B. So this will also be B. And we'll call this face C. Yay. There you go. Hooray, hooray. And now we have to actually do the pattern pieces with some newsprint. Okay. And then you've got to cut them off onto like some solid paper. So now that we have the paper piece, I'm basically cutting this out on backing. I can also use a real stiff batting for this, but paper is fine for our purposes right now. So I'm going to cut these out and then use these as my upholstery pieces. The reason that I'm cutting this off of something that's just a little stiffer is I'm going to put batting on it in this shape. I'm going to cover it with material. I'm going to tape it to the back, and then I'm going to have my upholstery piece. So then we can basically tack it together on the stone. FYI, paper is probably not the best thing to use. I actually brought some fancy batting if you guys want to use some nice mesh. Underneath. Mesh is what I use if I do giant upholstery stones. That was mesh I did on the rubble over there. But paper's just fine. Paper works just well. Making patterns on these things using newsprint. And then I'm using the newsprint as yet a pattern for a stiffer piece of paper because I need some sort of some kind of a stiff material to make these upholstery pieces. And with an ordinary piece of furniture, like something made out of wood, you can just pound things onto it. But with something like a rock, you have to make sure that stress is equal in every direction. So you get these funny patterns. We're going to officially start in just a moment. Okay. All right. So these are your pieces of batting. So these paper pieces, then I pin batting to them, and then I cut the batting out. And I usually will write up, so I know which side is up and which is down. And then I'll turn this over on top of upholstery material and make my upholstery faces for the rock pieces. You might have scared something. So in any event, what we did is we cut out the paper, we cut out the batting, and then we turned it upside down on the cloth, and we snipped around the outside, beautiful little snips, and basically we kind of pulled it up with tape. Now tape is not archival, neither is this paper. If you want to do an archival version of this, I've got some really nice screen that you can get to do, or if you're doing it in an outdoor piece or something like that. But for something that's going to sit on your desk or last at least your lifetime, this is probably fine. In any event, so now we have them, and these are basically faces for our upholstery piece. And she can kind of come back to her rock and kind of see how they fit, like this. But in order to sew this thing, now what I have to do is I basically stitch it together so it stays on the object. And I do this with an upholstery needle. And an upholstery needle is this beautiful curved needle. The great thing about it is that you can push it through by basically sort of torquing the actual object, and it basically goes around. So rather than going straight into the stone, you can kind of curve it around. FYI, it's also great to use thimbles. Now, I never see people using thimbles anymore, and my hands are always constantly covered with pinpricks. And if you look closely at my sculpture, sometimes you'll see little spots of blood all over it because of those fingers. But this basically allows you to push here, and then it goes in a circle, which is really nice. So I'm basically going to tack this down on multiple sides.
But there's no knot at the end.
There is a knot at the end.
Oh, there is?
There is,
yeah.
I
just don't see it.
And actually, that upholstery people, they will actually knot the end of that, and then they'll put a knot on the end of here and snip it off, which I could do right now. Actually, I might as well do that. Because then all you do is you just cut in the middle, and you're actually able to pull the ends. You pull the ends out. So when I want to take these out, I just cut it in the middle and I just pull it, and they both pop out. Yeah, so I'm basically going to go around this rock, and I'm going to use probably 5 or 6 different spots. But honestly, you guys, when you do this, don't worry about how you knot this. The idea is just to basically sort of get these in the right general spot before you start suturing them. And the stitch that you do on the side, you can do any, oh, that one just pulled through. The stitch that you do on the side, you can really do any stitch that you want. Typically, the one that I do looks sort of like a suture. I'll show you what that looks like. You could kind of see that on those big upholstery snows I was showing you. Or you can use welting, which is basically piping that is really kind of simple to make. You can use longer cord, or you can go and buy welting from a store.